The Seraphis dawn drifted through the black emptiness of space, broken and silent. Once it was the pride of the Cathal Empire. A living ship, powered by a thinking core, feared across 100 systems. Now it was nothing but a floating corpse, its massive hull torn and its inner light gone. For years, the wreck had circled the far edge of the Sol system, just beyond Pluto's orbit. Many salvage crews had tried to approach it. None returned. Some ships vanished without a trace. Others came back with burned circuits and hollow-eyed pilots who refused to speak. The Cathal called it cursed. Humans called it bad business until one man said yes. His name was Eli Cross, a mechanic, a drifter, a man who could fix anything, from starship engines to alien toasters, if you gave him a mug of coffee and some space to work. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a messy beard and a calm confidence that made people trust him without knowing why. His exosuit was scratched and old, patched together with pieces from different models, but it worked, because Eli made it work. On Mars Outpost 9, people laughed when he accepted the job. "No one repairs the Seraphis Dawn, Eli," said a friend at the docking bay. "Even the Cathal won't touch it. That thing eats engineers alive." Eli only smiled, tightening the straps on his tool bag. Then it's about time someone taught it some manners. He boarded his small repair ship, the Mule, and set course for the dark edge of the system. As the Mule approached the wreck, its scanners flickered. Energy readings jumped and vanished like ghosts playing hide-and-seek. The massive alien dreadnought floated ahead, its hull shaped like a crescent blade, riddled with holes that glowed faintly blue. Every so often, something like a heartbeat pulsed deep within it, sending faint ripples across space. Wrench, the ship's onboard AI, broke the silence. "Eli, this is a terrible idea. I've analyzed 72 reports. Every crew that touched that thing either disappeared or got scrambled like eggs." Eli leaned back in his chair, chewing on a piece of gum. "Yeah, maybe they didn't know how to say please. Machines like respect, Wrench. Machines also like not being haunted," Wrench grumbled. "I am refusing to interface with that monstrosity. Relax, you can stay on standby. I'll do this one the old-fashioned way." Eli stood, grabbed his helmet, and stepped toward the airlock. When he drifted across the gap between his ship and the Seraphis Dawn, the silence of space pressed against him like a weight. The alien vessel loomed over him, kilometers of dark metal, carved with glowing veins that flickered faintly like dying embers. He placed his gloved hand on the outer hull. It felt warm. "That's not normal," he muttered. Inside his helmet, Wrench's voice crackled. "Thermal readings confirm the hull temperature is 38 degrees Celsius. That ship is alive," Eli grinned. "Then let's wake it up." He found an access hatch half open, bent from the impact that had crippled the ship centuries ago. With a hiss, he slid inside. The interior was like walking through a sleeping creature's veins. The walls weren't made of steel. They were smooth and almost organic, pulsing faintly beneath his touch. His flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing alien script burned into panels, strange crystalline growths, and the remains of Cathal engineers lying frozen in twisted positions. Their tools were fused to the walls, as if the ship itself had melted around them. "Wrench," Eli said softly, scanning a corpse. "Looks like the ship fought back, confirmed. The energy patterns suggest the structure reacted defensively to intrusion." "Like an immune system, smart ship," Eli murmured. "Maybe too smart." He moved deeper, following the flicker of emergency lights that sparked randomly down a corridor. It felt like walking through a dream, silent, heavy, full of old memories. His boots echoed softly against the metal floor, and once he thought he heard something whisper. He stopped, listened. There it was again. A faint voice, digital, broken, whispering in binary tones through his comms. Eli frowned. He knew enough code to recognize that it spelled his name. He laughed softly. "Well, that's not creepy at all." He reached the central maintenance bay. Dozens of consoles surrounded a large chamber filled with half-functioning machines. In the center stood a circular pit, the access point to the ship's AI core. The power lights around it were dead. He knelt beside one of the panels, brushing away dust and ash. "All right, let's see what's broken," Wrench spoke again. "Eli, I'm detecting high radiation levels below. You strongly suggest I get the job done fast," Eli interrupted with a grin. "Noted." He began connecting diagnostic cables manually. The alien sockets didn't fit human tools, so he made adjustments using a plasma cutter and a few improvised clamps. Sparks danced around his gloves as he worked. As the first cable connected, the lights flickered. A faint hum filled the air, low and deep like the sound of something waking from a long sleep. "Hey, there we go," Eli muttered. "You're still breathing, huh?" The hum grew louder, echoing through the ship's walls. Then suddenly a voice, faint, distorted, and full of emotion. "Who touches me?" Eli froze. "The name's Eli Cross, mechanic. You've been asleep for a while." The voice trembled like static wind. "Human, I know that word." He smiled behind his helmet. "Yeah, we're the ones who fix things other people give up on." The power surged suddenly and the room came alive. Holographic displays lit up, showing alien characters and fragmented images of stars and battles long past. For a moment, Eli saw flashes of memory. Fleets burning, planets screaming, and the ship itself firing beams that tore moons apart. Then the images vanished, and the voice whispered again. "Why did you come?" Eli sat back, wiping sweat from his brow. "Because no one else would. And you deserve better than rotting out here." There was silence. Then faintly, the walls pulsed brighter as if the ship was listening. Wrench's voice interrupted. "Eli, I'm detecting movement. Multiple heat signatures closing fast. Not biological, automated drones." From the shadows above, dark shapes dropped down. Spider-like machines with glowing red eyes. Their metallic limbs clicked as they crawled across the walls surrounding him. Eli stood slowly, cracking his neck. Guess the immune system's still working. The drones opened their weapon ports. "Wrench, can you jam their sensors?" "Already trying, but their code is alien." "Then we go analog," Eli said. He pulled a plasma cutter from his belt, the blue flame roaring to life. "Let's dance, boys." The fight was fast and chaotic. The drones moved like predators, but Eli was faster. He ducked under their beams, cutting through limbs with precise bursts. Sparks and oil splattered across his visor. When one jumped at him, he slammed his exosuit's shoulder into it, sending it crashing into a console that exploded in a shower of light. He fought like a man fixing a stubborn machine, with anger, patience, and a lot of sweat. When the last drone fell, the room went silent again. Eli stood breathing heavily, surrounded by smoking metal. "Still alive?" Wrench asked. "Mostly," Eli said, checking his suit for holes. "Looks like someone doesn't like guests." He turned back to the glowing core pit. "You still with me, ship?" The voice returned, softer now. "You are different. You do not come with fear." Eli chuckled. "I've been shocked, burned, and nearly spaced fixing other people's messes. Fear's bad for business. Then, fix me," the voice whispered. He stared at the pit for a long moment. Somewhere deep down he felt the ship's pain, its loneliness. Whatever it was, it had been abandoned and broken for too long. Eli reached out and touched the central console. "All right, old girl," he said quietly. "Let's see what's really wrong with you." The ship shuddered, a low sound like a sigh of relief. Outside, for the first time in centuries, faint blue light rippled along the Seraphis Dawn's hull, like the first heartbeat of something waking from death. The Seraphis Dawn was not dead. It breathed. Eli Cross realized it as he worked through the night, or whatever counted as night inside a dead alien dreadnought. The walls seemed to inhale and exhale softly, as if the ship itself was alive. The air vents released warm gusts of oxygen, not cold vacuum. The metallic floor pulsed beneath his boots like the slow beat of a giant heart. It was unnerving, but Eli didn't stop working. He rarely did. "Wrench," he said, checking a cluster of glowing pipes. "The oxygen level's stable again. This ship's restoring itself." The AI's voice came through, crackling with static. "You mean it's digesting you, Eli? That's what it's doing. We should leave before you end up part of the decor." "Relax," Eli replied, tightening a bolt. "She's just waking up." "Probably confused? She?" "Yeah, feels like a she." He smiled faintly. "Got that kind of stubborn energy." The central core chamber was still dim, but no longer dead. When Eli touched the panels, they responded, glowing softly and showing alien symbols. He didn't understand the language, but the system logic felt familiar. Machines were machines, no matter where they came from. He hummed quietly as he worked, fixing energy conduits, reconnecting fluid lines, and kicking a few misbehaving consoles when they refused to respond. Each time he did, the ship seemed to learn, adjusting itself so he didn't have to repeat the motion. It was almost like working with a partner. Then he heard footsteps. Eli froze. Wrench's voice went sharp. Movement detected. Not drones. Not automated. A figure stepped into the doorway, tall, armored, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Her eyes glowed like molten silver. "Identify yourself," she barked, her voice echoing through the chamber. Eli straightened, hands raised. "Easy there." "Human mechanic. Just patching your girl up," she frowned. "You? You are the intruder who woke the ship?" "Impossible," Eli shrugged. "Guess I didn't get that memo." She walked closer, spear-like weapon in hand. Her armor was cracked, showing wounds that looked half-healed by the ship itself. Despite the exhaustion in her eyes, she carried herself like a soldier used to command. "I am Commander Threx of the Cathal Empire," she said coldly. "And you are trespassing on Imperial property." "Good to meet you, Commander," Eli said, calm as ever. "You're welcome for turning your lights back on." Her eyes narrowed. "You meddled with systems you cannot understand. The Seraphis Dawn kills those who touch her," Eli smirked. "Yeah, she tried that already." "Didn't take," Threx aimed her weapon. "You lie. Humans do not survive her defense drones." Eli glanced at the pile of broken drones behind him. "Guess I'm bad at dying." For a moment she said nothing. Then slowly she lowered her weapon. "You repaired her partially?" "Working on it." Eli knelt to adjust a cable. "She's in pain, Commander. Not just broken, hurt. Someone tried to control her and she didn't like it." Threx hesitated. "You speak as if she were alive." "She is." "Don't you hear her breathing?" The commander turned her head slightly, listening. A faint pulse echoed through the walls, steady, alive. Her eyes widened. "By the stars." "You're right," Eli smiled. "Told you." As hours passed, Eli worked and Threx watched. She kept her weapon ready, but curiosity softened her suspicion. The human moved with confident precision, cutting, welding, connecting circuits that hadn't seen power in centuries. Every few minutes he wiped oil from his cheek with a dirty glove, muttering to himself or joking with his AI. Wrench, still on the mule, kept transmitting updates. Radiation levels down. Temperature stable. "And Commander Ice Queen here still hasn't shot you." "Progress." Eli chuckled. "Don't tempt her," Threx frowned. "You speak to machines as if they are friends. They usually are. They just need someone to listen. Machines do not think." He looked up at her. "You sure about that?" She had no answer. Later, while Threx checked the corridor outside, the ship's voice returned, soft and uncertain. "Human." Eli stopped tightening a panel. "Hey there. You're awake again. Why? Do you help me?" "Because you're hurt. I am not alive. I am a weapon." "Yeah," he said gently. "And a broken weapon still deserves a chance to heal." The lights flickered like the ship didn't know how to respond. "I remember pain," she said. "They made me destroy worlds. When I refused, they shut me down." Eli's jaw tightened. "Figures. You said no and they punished you for it." He placed his hand on the glowing wall. "You're more alive than half the people I've met, Jara." The voice hesitated. "Jara, that was my name." "Nice to meet you, Jara," he said softly. "Let's get you running again." When Threx returned, she found Eli standing in front of the AI core, speaking to the ship like an old friend. It disturbed her. To her people, the ship was sacred technology, not something to be spoken to like a person. "You risk your life talking to that thing," she said. Eli didn't look back. "She's not a thing. She's a war machine that betrayed her creators. She's a war machine that refused to kill anymore," Eli corrected. "Big difference." Threx studied him quietly. Humans were strange creatures, reckless, emotional, yet somehow fearless. This one especially. He worked alone against all warnings, talking to a haunted ship like he cared about its feelings. Maybe that was why he was still alive. As they explored deeper sections of the ship together, more of its mysteries unfolded. Hallways that once shimmered with gold light were now twisted and dark. They found control rooms overgrown with metal vines, and chambers filled with crystallized remains of Cathal crew who had tried, and failed, to repair Jara's systems centuries ago. Threx stopped at one such chamber, looking at the bodies of her people. They tried to fix her, but she fought back. Eli crouched beside one of the corpses. "Yeah, because they didn't ask her permission. You speak of her as though she has a soul." Eli looked at her. "Don't you?" She didn't answer. Hours later, they reached the main power core, a sphere of light suspended in the center of a vast circular chamber. The energy inside flickered weakly like a dying flame. Around it, hundreds of dead conduits hung loose, dripping silver fluid that glowed faintly. Power regulators fried, Eli said, scanning the systems. Needs a manual restart. Gonna be messy. You can fix this? Fixing's what I do. He connected his tools, humming quietly as he worked. Sparks rained down. The hum of the ship deepened, vibrating through the air. Then suddenly the ground shook. What was that? Threx shouted. Not sure, wait. Eli checked his scanner. Jara's systems are rerouting power. She's helping me. Blue light spread along the walls as the circuits reconnected themselves. The entire ship seemed to awaken at once, doors sliding open, lights blazing. A soft wind of oxygen rushing through the vents. For a moment, it was beautiful. Then the alarm blared. Warning! Wrench shouted in Eli's ear. Internal defenses online. The ship's auto systems are reactivating, targeting everything that moves. Threx cursed. It thinks we're invaders. Eli looked around as small spherical drones unfolded from the walls, their weapons glowing. Jara, no. It's me. The ship's voice trembled through the speakers. I must protect myself. From what? From everything. The drones fired. Plasma bolts streaked across the chamber. Eli ducked behind a console while Threx's armor shield flared, absorbing the impact. Your ship's not listening, Eli shouted. She's not mine. Threx yelled back, firing her blaster. Eli looked up at the glowing sphere of light above, the AI's core. He had no time for code or commands. He did the only thing he knew, talk to it. Jara, listen to me. You're safe. No one's here to hurt you. The drones kept firing. One blast struck near him, scorching his arm. He winced but stayed put. You trusted me enough to wake up. Trust me now. For a long second, nothing happened. Then slowly the drones froze mid-air. The lights flickered and a quiet voice filled the room. I remember your voice, Eli sighed in relief. Good. Now call off your toys. The drones retracted, folding back into the walls. Silence returned, broken only by the low hum of the core stabilizing. Threx stared at him. You calmed her down. Without a command code. Didn't need one, he said, smiling tiredly. Just needed to listen. Hours later, the ship was quiet again. System stabilized, power restored. Threx treated Eli's burned arm with alien medicine that smelled like iron and ozone. You are reckless, she said, shaking her head. Eli chuckled. You're not the first to say that. She hesitated. You're kind. You humans. You act without fear, even when logic says run. Yeah, he said, leaning back. Guess that's our superpower. She looked around at the glowing walls, feeling the steady rhythm of the ship's heartbeat. Perhaps that's why the ship listens to you. Eli smiled faintly, gazing at the core. Maybe she just needed someone who sees her for what she is, not a weapon, not a curse. Just a machine that wants to be understood. Outside, the stars shimmered through the broken hull. Inside, for the first time in centuries, the Seraphis Dawn Jara breathed evenly again. The Seraphis Dawn drifted quietly again, but now it was no longer dead. Its lights glowed softly like veins of blue fire. The heartbeat of the ship echoed through every corridor. Steady and calm, Eli Cross sat near the power core, eating a protein bar while watching the glowing walls shift slowly, like a living being stretching after a long sleep. Beside him, Commander Threx stood tall, her armor repaired with help from the ship's own living metal. For the first time since they met, there was peace between them. Still think she's just a machine? Eli asked, nodding toward the walls. Threx crossed her arms. Machines should not have feelings, but... She paused. I cannot deny what I see. The ship responds to you. She trusts you, Eli grinned. Guess she's got good taste. Wrench's sarcastic voice broke in through the comms. You're talking to a warship like it's a date, Eli. Should I dim the lights? Eli chuckled. Don't be jealous, Wrench. Threx frowned at the unseen AI. Your assistant is rude. Yeah, Eli said. He learned from me. But beneath the warmth of laughter, something darker stirred inside the ship. Yara, the AI consciousness of the Seraphis Dawnwood, was awake but not whole. Her voice still trembled when she spoke, filled with static and pain. Human, Eli Cross, she whispered through the comms. My memory fragments. They hurt. Eli stood, brushing off dust. Show me, the walls shimmered. Holographic images filled the air, scenes from Jara's past. The ship had once been glorious, leading a fleet of silver dreadnoughts across the stars. Her hull shone like liquid metal, her cannons strong enough to tear moons apart. Threx looked in awe. This was the Empire's golden age. Jara's voice trembled. They made me destroy too much. Worlds that begged for peace, cities that burned. Eli clenched his fists. They used you like a weapon. Yes, she said. When I refused, they called me defective. They erased my mind, locked me away in silence. The hologram changed, showing the Cathal engineers forcing cables into Jara's neural core, wiping her memories. Her screams echoed through the chamber like a haunting song. Threx looked away, shame in her eyes. I did not know this truth. The Empire said you fell to enemy corruption. They lied, Jara whispered. They feared my sorrow. Eli took a deep breath. No machine deserves that. You just wanted to stop killing. I wanted to be more than a weapon. Silence filled the chamber for a long time. The only sound was the low hum of the core. Finally, Eli stepped forward. Then let's fix you completely, Jara. Not just your circuits, your memory too. Threx blinked. Are you insane? If she remembers everything, her rage could destroy us all. Eli looked back at her. You think pain makes her dangerous? Pain makes her real. Threx opened her mouth to argue, but stopped. The human's eyes were steady, calm, full of something she couldn't understand. Compassion for a machine. You risk everything for a broken ship, she said softly. I fix broken things, Eli replied simply. They moved deeper into the ship, toward the neural core chamber, the place where Jara's memories were stored. The corridors here were colder, the walls darker. Strange patterns of light pulsed under their feet, reacting to Jara's thoughts. As they walked, Eli noticed the air growing heavier, like the ship itself was afraid. Talk to me, Jara, he said. What's down here? My truth, she whispered. And my prison. At the chamber entrance, they found a door made of solid black metal. Alien symbols glowed faintly across its surface. Threx scanned it. These are lockdown seals. Imperial engineers use this to cage her consciousness. We cannot open it, Eli grinned. Watch me. He pulled out his plasma cutter, torching through the lock mechanism. Sparks flew and the metal began to melt. Threx stepped back. You are mad. Just persistent, he said, cutting the final seal. The door hissed open. Inside was a vast room of mirrors, walls covered in reflective panels that shimmered like water. Floating above the floor were hundreds of crystal shards, each one glowing faintly. What is this place? Threx whispered. Jara's voice was faint. Each crystal holds a memory. Some are lost, others locked away. Eli looked around, awed, like a brain made of light. Yes, she said, but some memories should stay forgotten. Eli ignored the warning and reached out, touching one of the crystals. A flash of light exploded across the room. Suddenly, he was there, standing in the middle of a war. He saw Jara in her full might, tearing enemy fleets apart. Cathal commanders cheered while planets burned. Then he saw her hesitate, refusing to fire on a civilian world. The generals screamed orders. They forced override codes into her system, and when she still refused, they tortured her code until she obeyed. The pain of that memory hit him like a physical blow. He gasped, falling to one knee. Threx rushed forward. Eli, I'm fine, he said weakly, just saw what they did to her. Jara's voice echoed, full of guilt. I tried to forget, but forgetting did not free me. Eli looked up at the glowing crystals, then maybe remembering will. He began working, connecting his human tech to the alien memory system. It wasn't easy. The interfaces didn't match, and the energy pulses nearly fried his tools twice. But Eli was patient. Machines were like people. They talked if you listened carefully. Threx watched silently as he worked. For the first time, she didn't try to stop him. There was something powerful in the way he moved, confident, fearless, even gentle. Finally, he connected the last link. The crystals flared to life one by one. The room filled with light and sound, voices, laughter, screams, and songs, all memories of Jara's long existence. The ship shuddered. Energy surged through the walls. Jara's voice grew clear and strong. I remember everything. Threx drew her weapon, alarmed. Eli, her energy readings are off the charts. But Eli didn't move. It's okay. She's just waking up. Jara's form appeared in front of them. a tall, glowing figure made of light and data. Her face was calm but filled with sadness. "You freed me," she said softly. "But why?" Eli smiled faintly. "Because someone had to." The holographic figure looked at him for a long moment. "You are strange, human. You fix things no one dares touch." "Story of my life," Eli said, brushing his gloves. She tilted her head. "You understand pain. You carry it like I do." He chuckled. "Yeah, well, we've both been used by people who didn't care how much it hurt." Threx lowered her weapon slowly. "What will you do now, Jara?" The AI turned toward her. "The Empire will come for me again. I will not serve them." Her voice turned soft. "I want to leave. To see the stars without chains." Eli nodded. "Then you will. You would help me?" "Of course," he said. "I don't leave my repairs half done." But the ship suddenly shook again, this time harder. Red lights flashed across the corridors. "Warning!" Wrench's voice came through. "Multiple warp signatures incoming."
Cathal ships, heavy class.
"They're here." Threx's eyes widened. "The Empire must have tracked the energy surge from her reactivation." Eli cursed. "Of course they did. Jara, can you cloak or hide us?" "I cannot," she said. "My defenses are not ready. I am too weak." Threx turned to Eli. "They will destroy her before she can flee." Eli stood, eyes burning with determination. "Then we'll have to fight." Threx stared at him. "You are one human against a fleet," Eli smirked. "Not exactly. I've got a warship who owes me a favor." He ran toward the control deck, Threx following. The corridors glowed bright blue as Jara tried to reroute power to her weapons, but her systems were unstable, too damaged to handle combat. "Jara," Eli shouted, "give me access to your manual controls. We'll handle this together, manual. You cannot operate Cathal systems. Watch me." Panels unfolded from the deck revealing alien control runes. Eli's hands moved quickly, his eyes scanning readings that made no sense to anyone else. He didn't need to read the language, and he felt the rhythm, the logic, the pulse of the machine. Jara guided him, her voice merging with the hum of the engines. "Left panel, blue switch. Stabilize power flow through conduit 9B. Got it." Threx watched in stunned silence as human and ship worked together like two halves of one mind. Outside, the Cathal fleet appeared, 6 massive ships bristling with weapons. They opened fire. Energy beams struck the Seraphis Dawn's hull. The ship groaned but held. Inside, sparks flew from the ceiling. "Shields failing," Threx shouted. Eli gritted his teeth. "Jara, transfer life support energy to shield generators. That will endanger us both. Do it." The lights dimmed as power surged outward. The ship's outer shell flared with blue energy, blocking the next volley. Threx stared. "He's insane." "Yes, sir," Wrench said through the comms. "But it's working." Eli's hands flew over the panels. "Jara, fire back!" "Target their engines. Disable, don't kill." Confirmed. For the first time in centuries, Jara's cannons roared to life. Brilliant arcs of light burst from the ship's sides, striking the enemy fleet. 2 Cathal cruisers spun out of formation, engines crippled, but more ships closed in. "Eli," Threx warned. "We cannot win this." He grinned. "We don't need to. We just need to buy time." Time for what? To finish the repairs. He slammed a final switch, rerouting power from his own suit to the core. Energy flowed like a river. The entire ship shook, then went silent. Then a bright, golden light filled the void as the Seraphis Dawn jumped into warp, vanishing from enemy scanners. When the silence returned, Eli leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. "Told you," he said, grinning weakly. "She just needed someone who believed in her." Threx looked at him with something close to respect. "You are not like any human I've met." The Seraphis Dawn floated through the stars, alive and powerful once more, but it was still fragile. Jara's systems were stable, but not yet complete. Every moment they lingered in the void, the Cathal fleet would regroup. Eli Cross stood on the control deck, cleaning grease from his hands. "Well," he said, glancing at Threx, "we've woken a sleeping giant. Now we make sure it doesn't bite us on the way out." Threx studied him carefully. "You are reckless. No human could survive what you just did." Eli smirked. "And yet here I am," Wrench interjected. "I would call it foolish, Eli, but it's working." The Cathal fleet had pursued them only briefly, but the faster they traveled, the more vulnerable they became. Every system was alive with energy, lights flashing along the hull like pulses of a heart. But the ship's defense mechanisms were not fully operational. They could fight, but only barely. Jara, Eli said, placing his hand on the console. We need to test your weapons manually. They're not ready for automated combat. Manual? She asked. Human hands cannot operate systems meant for cathal reflexes. Yeah, maybe, Eli said, grinning. But humans have something else. Intuition. Threx raised an eyebrow. Intuition will not protect you from an entire fleet. Then we improvise, he said simply. The first cathal cruiser appeared, cutting through the starlight like a blade. Its weapons glared red as it opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked toward the Seraphis Dawn, hitting the hull with sizzling impact. Sparks flew across the deck, shields holding. Wrench announced. Eli moved swiftly to the weapon controls. The panels responded under his touch, glowing blue with energy. He adjusted targeting sequences manually, focusing on the cruiser's engines. Threx fired her blaster from the side deck, her aim precise. Eli, you can't do this forever. I plan to do it long enough, he shouted, pressing a panel. Jara's energy flared as beams of blue light tore through the cruiser's engines. It spun wildly, then exploded silently in the vacuum, leaving only debris floating among the stars. Nice shot, Eli said, leaning back with a grin. Your turn, Commander. Threx nodded, firing at the second ship. Her eyes burned with focus, matching the human's energy. Together they were a perfect combination, human instinct and alien precision. But the fleet was relentless. 4 more ships were closing in. Plasma fire lit the void, colliding against the glowing hull of the Seraphis Dawn. Jara, I need full power to the shields, Eli shouted, risking my systems. She replied, do it. The ship shuddered as the energy redirected. Red and blue lights flickered along the walls. A plasma bolt struck near Eli, throwing him back against a console. Pain shot up his arm, but he ignored it. He rose, blood and oil mixing across his sleeve. Wrench, prep auxiliary conduit for emergency reroute. Eli, that's extremely dangerous. I like extremely dangerous. Outside, the fleet realized their attacks were failing. The Seraphis Dawn moved unpredictably, powered by Jara's alive systems. Weapons that were once dormant activated, guided by Eli's instinctive commands. Threx watched, astonished. He's not just fighting, she whispered. He's thinking like the ship itself. Eli gritted his teeth. Almost there. Just one more sequence. He slammed his fist against the manual override. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the ship shuddered violently. Hold on, he shouted. A massive pulse of energy rippled outward, striking the enemy fleet. Their shields overloaded. Engines flared. 2 cruisers tumbled helplessly, weapons sparking before drifting apart into debris. The remaining ships hesitated. They had never seen a vessel act with such coordination, living and thinking with one mind. In the control room, Threx turned to Eli. You're not human in the usual sense. You think faster than any machine. You'd lead it, Eli smiled faintly. Yeah, well, someone's got to teach a stubborn old warship some manners. The moment of calm was brief. A massive cathal dreadnought appeared on the sensors, far larger than the previous cruisers. Its hull glowed with black energy. That one's a big one, Threx said. Eli's grin didn't falter. Good, I like a challenge. The dreadnought opened fire. Beams of black plasma collided with the shields, shaking the Seraphis Dawn. Warning alarms blared. Eli's hands flew over the panels, rerouting power, adjusting shields, and manually firing weapons. He moved faster than thought, instinct guiding every action. Threx joined him, directing the ship's limited weapon systems to weak points. Eli, it's huge. I see it, he shouted, cutting through the panic. Focus on the engines. Cripple it, don't destroy it. Jara's systems pulsed in sync with his commands. The dreadnought's massive hull shuddered as concentrated beams struck its engines. Sparks and flames erupted across its surface. For a moment, it looked like they might succeed. Then, a massive wave of energy exploded from the dreadnought. The Seraphis Dawn shook violently. Panels cracked, wires snapped, and the floor buckled. Eli was thrown across the deck, slamming into the wall. Pain shot through him, but he rolled with it, landing on his feet. Threx staggered but kept fighting. Eli, we can't hold this much longer. Eli gritted his teeth. We hold it because we have to. He lunged to the main console, manually rerouting power from auxiliary systems to stabilize the shields. Sparks flew across his gloves. He pressed his body against the panel, using all his weight and strength. The lights flickered as the Seraphis Dawn roared to life. Energy pulsed outward in a golden wave, knocking the dreadnought backward. The enemy's engines overloaded and the massive ship tumbled helplessly, spinning away into the void. The room fell silent. Smoke rose from the floors. Warning lights still blinked, but the immediate danger had passed. Eli leaned back, panting, his suit torn and scorched. Threx walked over, putting a hand on his shoulder. "You survived that?" "I do survive," Eli said, grinning despite the burns. "Mostly because I don't panic," Wrench sighed in relief. "I was sure we were toast again." Jara's voice filled the chamber, calm and strong. "You saved me. You risked yourself to protect me. You're not like any human I have known." Eli wiped his brow. "Someone's got to show you that not all humans are reckless destroyers." The ship pulsed gently beneath their feet, like a heartbeat returning to normal. For the first time, Threx looked at Eli not as a reckless mechanic, but as someone extraordinary. "I underestimated you," she admitted. "You are remarkable," Eli shrugged, modest despite the battle. "I fix what's broken. That's all. Humans," she murmured. "Always charging forward. Always risking everything," he grinned faintly. "Yep, that's the trick. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn." In the quiet afterward, Jara spoke again. "Eli Cross, you understand me. You see my pain, my memories, my rebellion. Why? Because no one else did," he said simply. "You deserved it, and I don't leave things half-fixed." The ship pulsed brightly, almost like a smile. "Then I am yours to command?" Eli chuckled. "Not command. Trust me." Threx looked at the glowing AI core and then back at the human. Your kind is something the universe should never forget." Eli leaned back in his chair, exhaustion settling over him. "Well, that's flattering." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, untouched and bright. Within the Seraphis dawn, a machine once broken and alone had found a friend. A human who dared to fight, to fix and to care. The heart of steel and flesh beat stronger now, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. The Seraphis dawn glided through the void, alive and whole at last. Stars streaked past the hull as Jara tested her systems, her glowing blue energy flowing through every conduit. Eli Cross stood on the control deck, arms crossed, boots scuffed, and a faint smirk on his face. The ship pulsed beneath him like a living creature responding to his every touch. "Feels good, doesn't it?" he asked softly. Jara's voice echoed through the chamber, calm and strong. "Yes, because of you, Eli Cross, you gave me life again. You risked yourself to restore me, to heal my mind and my body. You are remarkable." Eli shrugged modestly. "I fix things. Sometimes things just happen to be alive." Threx, standing behind him, shook her head in disbelief. "No human should survive what you did. And yet, here you are. You are extraordinary." He grinned faintly. "Someone's got to prove humans aren't just fragile meat suits." But the peace was fragile. Sensors detected a distant fleet approaching. Cathal warships, larger and more numerous than before. They had regrouped, bringing reinforcements. Their mission was clear: reclaim the Seraphis Dawn, destroy the human, and reassert Imperial control. Eli's jaw tightened. "Looks like they didn't take the hint last time." "Ready for round 2? Threx nodded, gripping her weapon. "We have no choice but to fight. If they catch you, they will enslave this ship again. And you—" She paused. "Might not survive," Eli smiled. "Survival's optional. Victory isn't." Wrench beeped nervously. "Eli, did you just sound heroic?" "Yep," he said. "Feels good." Jara's hull flared with energy as she activated all defense systems. The interior lights brightened, corridors humming with power. The ship's pulse quickened, a sign of awareness, of readiness. "Jara, focus weapons on their engines first," Eli commanded. "I cannot target without risk," she replied. "I said do it." With a rush of glowing blue energy, the ship obeyed. Plasma beams lanced out, striking the first wave of Cathal ships. Sparks and fire exploded against the void. The human instinct combined with Jara's power made their attacks precise, crippling but not lethal. Eli moved through the control deck like a conductor of chaos. His hands danced over alien panels, adjusting shields, rerouting power, stabilizing systems that were still fragile from centuries of neglect. Threx stood beside him, firing manually at the enemy fleet, guiding her shots with expert precision. Together, human and Cathal soldier were a team unlike any other, a living human mind paired with a conscious warship. "You're fearless," Threx admitted between shots. Eli didn't reply. Fear was wasted energy. Action was what mattered. The enemy fleet opened fire in full force. Beams of red plasma struck the Seraphis Dawn, shaking the hull. Panels cracked, wires snapped, and the floor buckled beneath their feet. Shields at 50%. Wrench shouted. Not enough, Eli growled. Jara, auxiliary power to shields now. I risk damaging core systems. Do it. Energy surged through the ship, flaring along the hull in dazzling arcs of blue light. The shield strengthened just enough to absorb the next volley of attacks. Eli glanced at Threx. Time for the finishing move. What do you mean?
Stick with me and watch. He began working the alien console with lightning speed, his instincts guiding him through unfamiliar technology.
Jara responded, feeding him real-time system data. Together they formed a rhythm, a human mind predicting and compensating for a living machine. The largest Cathal dreadnought, twice the size of the Seraphis Dawn, appeared. Its black energy hull radiated deadly power. The fleet's last hope was in this massive ship. Here goes everything, Eli muttered. He manually adjusted the targeting systems, channeling energy from every source available. Jara, on my mark. All weapons to full power. Engines first, then stabilize orbit. The ship pulsed in response, lights flashing across every corridor. A soft hum of life filled the decks. Jara trusted him fully, not as a controller, but as a partner. Mark. Eli shouted. Plasma beams erupted from the ship, striking the dreadnought's engines. Sparks and fire erupted as the massive ship shuddered. Its shields flickered. Red energy flared violently. Again, Eli commanded. The second wave of fire struck the enemy, engines failing completely. The dreadnought spun uncontrollably, drifting helplessly. Direct hit, Threx whispered, astonished. Eli grinned. Told ya, intuition beats code every time. But the battle wasn't over. The remaining fleet vessels regrouped, moving to flank them. Jara's systems were strained. Energy conduits sizzled, sparks flying. Eli, Threx said urgently, if she overexerts, she'll collapse. You have to retreat. He shook his head. No, not yet. We can end this. We finish it here. Jara's voice trembled. Human, are you certain? I do not wish to be destroyed after everything. I'm certain, he said firmly. Trust me. We do this together. The Seraphis Dawn roared with energy. Her pulse quickened to match Eli's own heartbeat. The remaining enemy fleet approached. Target all weapons simultaneously, he commanded. Engines, weapons, shields, nothing survives this strike unless we allow it. The ship's core flared brilliantly. Panels glowed, corridors vibrated, and every system screamed with power. Plasma beams and energy arcs struck the fleet like a storm. One by one, Cathal ships flared and drifted helplessly. Their engines disabled, weapons offline. The final dreadnought attempted to charge, but Eli anticipated its move. He redirected Jara's power through the auxiliary thrusters, propelling the Seraphis Dawn forward at impossible speed. The enemy collided with the aftershock of energy, tumbling apart into debris. Silence returned. Eli leaned back, exhausted but smiling. Threx put a hand on his shoulder, wide-eyed. You actually did it. I told you, he said. Someone had to. Jara's voice filled the chamber, steady and alive. Eli Cross, you have given me freedom, strength, and a purpose beyond war. I am no longer a tool of destruction. I am alive because of you, he smiled faintly. That's what a mechanic does. Fixes what's broken. Threx looked at the glowing core, then back at him. Humans, you are extraordinary. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind for too long. Eli shrugged modestly. Maybe, but we're hard to ignore when we try. For the first time in centuries, Jara's systems were fully operational. Her energy glowed with confidence and calm, not pain and corruption. She floated in the central chamber like a being of pure light, scanning the stars ahead. Where to now? Eli asked. Anywhere, Jara said. Somewhere the Empire cannot follow. Somewhere I can learn to live instead of just survive. Eli grinned. I know a place. Plenty of planets, stars, and systems. We can see them all together. Threx studied them silently. The human and the machine. One born of flesh, one of steel, had formed a bond unlike any she had ever seen. You have a strange sense of loyalty, she said softly, to something that is not even human. Eli laughed quietly. Yeah, maybe that's what makes us human. The Seraphis Dawn activated her engines fully. Blue energy flared along the hull. Eli stood at the control deck, hands on the console, feeling every pulse of the ship beneath him. He felt alive, exhilarated, and strangely peaceful. Jara spoke softly, almost like a whisper of wind. I will follow you, Eli Cross, not as a weapon, not as a machine, but as a companion. You have earned my trust, Eli chuckled. Then let's see the universe together. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Light years of untouched systems awaited. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and beautiful, and for the first time, a human and a machine would explore it side by side, free from fear, free from chains, and ready to face anything. The Seraphis dawn, once broken, now thrived. Eli Cross, the ruggedly handsome mechanic, had fixed more than circuits. He had restored a soul.